Hi friends, this is Sitso from Sitso's Home Economics and you're welcome back to my channel. This is another cook with me video where I'll be preparing goat meat stew in my slow cooker, palmnut soup on my stove top, banku in my rice cooker, and kokonte in the microwave. I hope you enjoy it. I start by first washing my goat meat and then spicing it with some blended ginger, garlic, and onion. This I already have in my fridge. I always prepare a lot of it and keep in the refrigerator and use it as and when I need it. So I'm spicing my goat meat and I'm adding some Sankofa natural spices. Always use Sankofa natural spices. No salt, no monosodium glutamate, and no added sugar. Very natural spices. Has very nice aroma and gives fantastic flavor to your meals. I'm also I added some salt and I covered it up just so the meat is properly marinated and very flavorful. I'm pouring some hot water on my palm nuts, which I pounded earlier and kept in the freezer. So I just poured some hot water on it and I allowed it to sit in it just for some few minutes. I'm placing my meat in the instant pot, also known as a pressure cooker. I'm adding a little bit of water. Always add water to whatever you're cooking in your pressure cooker to enable it to cook properly and not burn. So I'm covering my instant pot. I cooked the goat meat for 7 minutes, I think, because I didn't want it to be too soft. I fried it and then added it to the meat, to the stew, sorry, from the beginning, so that it would also soften whilst it's still cooking in the slow cooker. So here I'm blending my corn dough. It's very fast for me. Instead of using my fingers and then mashing it, taking my time and mashing it, I just do it quickly in my blender and it's very fast for me. Here I'm also blending the cassava dough. The banku is a mixture of corn dough and cassava dough. So that is what you see me doing here. So I'm cooking my banku in my rice cooker. Yes, adding some salt, giving it a bit of a stir, and then I'm going to turn my rice cooker on. Cover it until the rice cooker moves on to warm. Whilst I'm waiting for the rice cooker to move from cook to the warm setting, I'm working on my palm nut now. I'm straining the palm nuts, the one I poured the hot water on. I'm just straining it. We need only we don't need the chaff, sorry, and the nuts. So you have to strain it so that you get the pulp or the mixture. So I'm straining my palm nuts. This is a lot of work. That is why you have to, if you have the time or the energy, you have to pound the palm nuts down, and then when you're ready to use it, you go ahead and use it. So that is what I'm doing. I usually use the palm nut base, the canned one, but this time I already had the pounded nut, so I'm using that. Adding more hot water because there's a lot more pulp in there and you want to get everything out. So it's a lot of work, but at the end of the day, you have a very delicious soup, so it's worth it. Okay, so here you see me use my fingers to take out the chaff and then fetch the soup with my bowl into the strainer and strain into my saucepan. So that's the last bit. So now my soup will go onto the fire. My rice cooker just snapped and went onto the warm setting. So I decided to give it a stir and to also break any lump in there. Forgive me, my dog is, if you're hearing my dog in the background, it's because he's seeing, I think, a fowl or something. Okay, so please kindly ignore that. Okay, so I push the knob back to cook on the rice cooker. Moving on to my palmnut soup. So now that my palmnut soup is on fire, I have to wait for it to boil. So I'm going to leave that and then move on to do some cleaning and some tidying up. Now my goat meat is ready and I have just released the pressure valve to release the pressure from the cooker. I also attended to my banku, gave it a stir to break some of the lumps in it. I covered it and turned the rice cooker back on. I use the meat setting on the instant pot in steaming or cooking my goat meat, which takes about 30 minutes on this particular brand. But I reduced the 30 minutes to 7 minutes because I did not want my goat meat to be very soft, so that I can still add it to my stew from the beginning process. When cooking the stew, I decided to add my meat. I always add my meat, chicken to the stew once I start preparing it. I like it when the meat has the flavor of the stew and is moist and soft in the stew. I don't like cooking my stew completely and then adding my protein to it. This is just how I prefer to make my stew. And so after steaming the goat meat, I also decided to fry my goat meat in my instant pot. And this was possible because of the browning setting that is on the instant pot. The browning setting only works when the pressure cooker is opened. Once you close it and it's sealed, that setting does not work, and also makes way for the other settings such as steaming, cooking meat, cooking pasta, etc. is able to work. So you see that even though I wanted to cover the meat because of the frying process, I did not cover it completely. Here I'm using my food processor to blend some tomatoes I prefer using the food processor. Those of you who have been following me, you would know that I use the food processor mainly because you do not need to add water, and you just puree your tomatoes using the processor. It makes it simple. Because I'm using the slow cooker in cooking my tomato stew, I didn't want to have to add any extra water apart from the stock I was using. So the food processor comes in very handy here. The browning setting on the instant pot or pressure cooker only takes 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, it beeps and ends. And if you want to continue browning or frying whatever you are frying or browning, you have to turn it back on, which will take another 3 minutes. So you have to be paying attention. And again, once you close the pressure cooker, that setting does not function anymore. It's only used for browning or frying your meat or fish, so that you can continue other cooking processes such as steaming, etc., or stewing. I'm also chopping or dicing my onions in my food processor. Again, no water is needed. Very simple, fast and quick. I prefer to chop my onions this way using the food processor, dice them into very, very tiny pieces. Very fast and easy than using a chopping board and a knife. So I'm also adding my chopped onions to my slow cooker. I'm also going to add some garlic by grating it directly into the slow cooker. This is how I like to grate my garlic into the slow cooker, into whatever I'm cooking, because I find this to be very fast and easy for me. So that's the peel of the garlic, and the garlic itself nicely grated. I'm adding my tomato paste at this point. Kindly note that my slow cooker is not on yet. I'm just putting all the ingredients into it, and when I'm done with that, I cover it and then turn it on. Blended ginger, garlic and onions. Adding my salt, and then my Sankofa natural spices, carefully formulated for preparing stew. Stir all my ingredients together, make sure they were properly mixed together. So my goat meat is ready, and I'm going to add that to my slow cooker stew. As I said, I only cooked it for 7 minutes in the pressure cooker, therefore it wasn't very soft, just partly cooked, and I have just fried it in my pressure cooker as well using the browning setting, and I'm transferring it into my stew. I'll also pour the oil I used in frying the meat also into my stew, instead of adding new oil or fresh oil. This oil, I only used it in frying the goat meat, so I'm going to use that for my stew as well. At this point that everything is mixed together, I covered my slow cooker and I turned it on the high. I used the high setting. It has two settings, has the low, the high, actually has three, sorry, low, high, and warm setting. So in case your food is ready but you do not want it to lose the heat or the warmth, you keep it on warm. So I turned it on and I kept it on the high setting. I cooked it on high for 4 hours. It has all my meat, it has all the ingredients, salt and everything in it. So once I turned it on high, it was I just left it to cook and simmer on its own. Next was my cow meat, which I needed to steam for my palm soup, which was still on fire, boiling. So I washed my cow meat, put it in the instant pot, added some blended ginger, garlic, and onion, some salt, and some sankofa natural spices. Also formulated for beef, this one for beef and chicken. I stirred it together, I stirred everything properly, and then I placed it in my pressure cooker. Always remember to add a little bit of water to whatever you are cooking in your pressure cooker. This enables the food to cook very well and also prevents burning. So I added a bit of water to it, covered it, and I cooked my meat for 15 minutes. Remember, I said the setting for meat is 13 on this brand of pressure cooker is 13 minutes, but I have tried and tested and know that the 30 minutes doesn't cook our type of meat here in Ghana. Sorry, from the regular market, the fresh meat we buy from the regular market. The 30 minutes doesn't make it very soft. It's soft, it's okay, but not too soft. So I usually, for our meat, I usually put it on about 17 minutes. There's a setting on it that helps you to either increase or reduce the time for whatever you are cooking. So I increased this from 30 minutes to about 17 minutes. Added my tomato, onion, and pepper, which I'll be blending for the palmnut soup. I put that also on it and covered it. I'm mixing my banku now. I'm giving it a stir. It's ready, and so I'm going to portion it as well. I could have chosen to prepare my banku on my stove top, but because of the various activities I was doing at home alongside cooking the food, I didn't want to be under pressure. I didn't want to have to be attending to the banku every now and then whilst it was on fire. And the rice cooker is able to do that for me without um, any hassle. So that's why sometimes I use my rice cooker. So now my cow meat is ready. My pressure cooker beeped. I released the pressure on it and then opened it. I'm using the stock to blend my tomato, onion, and pepper because I do not want to introduce any extra water into my palmnut soup. So I'm only going to be using the stock as extra water in my palmnut soup. my blended tomato, onion and pepper and garden egg into my palmnut soup. The only liquid I'm using here is the stock from the meat. Is the stock from the meat. After straining, I added my precursor, and then I also added my meat because it was quite soft. So I added it at this point. I'm also adding some smoked fish, smoked tuna, smoked salmon, smoked herrings. I also added some um, um, kako. Kako. If you know the English name for kako or salted fish, kindly, yeah, I think it's salted fish, so that's okay. Here I'm making kokonte for myself, just one portion of kokonte, so I decided to prepare it in my microwave. I mixed the kokonte flour with some water and put it in the microwave for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, this is how it looks like. So I'm stirring it. It's a bit hard, so I added a bit of water to it and also breaking the lumps in it. I placed it back into the microwave and gave it another 3 minutes. I covered it, but I did not lock the sides of the bowl. Just left the cover on it loosely. After the 3 minutes, I took it out and gave it a stir again. It was ready, but I just decided to put it back in for about a minute. Next, I checked on my stew. At this point, it has been cooking for about 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours to 3 hours. So as you can see, it's simmering nicely. It's cooked, but then I left it again for another 30 minutes. I just gave it a stir, tasted the spice and salt, and made sure that it was up to the way I wanted it. And so I covered it and left it for another. So I'm serving myself and my husband now with the palm soup. He's having banku with palm soup, and I am eating kokonte with palm soup. The soup has been ready for about 40 minutes now. I only turned the fire off and left it on the stove, and it was still hot and warm for us to eat. That's my kokonte. So I'm pouring my soup on top of it. That's a very easy way to prepare kokonte. So you can try it. My food is ready. The goat meat stew is also ready at this point. I hope you enjoyed the video. This was a cook with me video where I prepared palm soup on my stove top using the palm nut that was pounded earlier and kept in the freezer. I also prepared my banku in my rice cooker, and then I used a slow cooker in preparing my goat meat stew. I didn't have any paposhito or green bell pepper for my stew, but then later on as we ate it, I added it along. Whilst I was warming it, I added. So thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, and remember to subscribe. Leave your comments down below, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.